In this video, we're going to introduce the most basic Greek verbal system, what is called the present active indicative. It's on this system that other elements of Greek verbs will be built. In this video, I'm going to introduce to you the forms of the present active indicative. You're going to get some practice speaking the present active indicative and also get some practice writing the endings of the present active indicative. So you should have your whiteboard handy as we go ahead and get started. You may have heard it said that Greek is a highly inflected language, and you are going to hear that said again. As a reminder, that means that Greek words change their forms to indicate information, whereas in English, we add additional words to indicate things like who is the subject or who is doing the action of the verb. Greek can embed that information into a word itself. And so that's what it does with respect to the present active indicative. It changes its forms to indicate that it's present active indicative and also to indicate the person, whether it's first person, second person, third person, first person being I in the singular, we in the plural, second person being you in the singular or y'all in the plural, and third person being he, she, it, they in the singular or they in the plural. Greek will change its endings to indicate that information. And so with respect to where we are now, we are at the present tense. So as I said at the beginning of this video, the Greek verbal system is sort of built on this present active indicative, or this is going to be sort of the basic form that we learn, and we'll see the ways that Greek sort of modulates from this system to form the other verbal tenses, voices, and moods. So when it comes to the meaning of verbs and when it comes to the present active indicative particularly, what we're talking about is present time. Remember, tense is going to be that first thing there. Present. There are a variety of different tenses. Present, future, aorist, imperfect, perfect are the main ones in Greek. But present largely refers to the time that the action is taking place. And the time in the present active indicative, or the action, I should say, in the present active indicative can be continuous action. In the case of luo, I am releasing. It's continuous, ongoing action in present time. Or it can be simple action. I release. The idea is that there the action is viewed as a whole rather than ongoing. So this is a little graph that you're going to see several different times with respect to the present tense. We are right in here. And to visualize this, the simple present tense, the action viewed simply is this I loosen. The action is viewed as a whole, sort of as an entire point in present time, whereas ongoing action indicates the action is happening over a course of time in the present. So I am teaching. I am ongoing, continuously teaching in present time, whereas I teach is the action simply viewed. And as you can see in the other tenses, the future time, and past time, we're going to have a similar phenomenon going on of a distinction between continuous action and simple action. And I should note that the form of the word does not change to indicate in the present time. It does not change to indicate whether that action is simple, I loosen, I teach, or whether it's ongoing, I am loosing, I am teaching. They will look exactly the same, and sort of as you translate, you determine based on the context whether you think the action is ongoing or whether the action is simple. So as to how the present active indicative forms, what we have is the stem, the basic part of the verb, and then a connecting vowel. And as we will see, the connecting vowel is actually embedded into the next part here, the primary active suffixes in many of the cases of these particular suffixes. So as we continue in our Greek journey, this slide is going to get bigger and bigger. There's going to be more information on there, and we're going to see how the different verbal forms are combinations of these different things. So the stem is going to be the most basic part of the verb. A connecting vowel is going to be what's stuck in there to connect the stem to the ending that indicates information about the verb, especially person and number. So when it comes to the present active indicative, we're talking about the present tense, we're talking about the active voice. Remember, the active voice is the subject doing the action of the verb. Dr. Elder teaches. He is the one teaching, and we're going to be in the active voice for quite a while here before we move into the other two voices, which are, that's right, the middle and the passive voices. And lastly, that last part there, the indicative, is the mood, how the action is viewed as real action that is happening, has happened, or will happen in future time. It's not a command, it's not possible action, it's not the pure idea of the verb. In the indicative, it is the action is viewed as real. So this is what those suffixes or those endings look like. These are what are called the primary endings. When you see the primary endings, you can expect to be in one of two tenses. When you see these particular primary endings, you can expect to be in the present tense, or you can expect to be in the future tense. And so this is what they look like, sort of in their bare form, with not connected to a verb. O, ace, a, min, te, usi. And so you can see here that it's actually these two that will take a connecting vowel. These three sort of already have a connecting vowel attached to them, because this is a vowel, omega. This is a vowel as a diphthong, epsilon iota. Again, epsilon iota vowel is a diphthong, and then another diphthong here with omicron hoopsilon. So we've already got the vowel sort of embedded in the ending there, so that when we put them on to the stem, there's not another connecting vowel added here, that this omega of the suffix is added directly to the stem in the case of these three here, the first, second, and third singular, and the third plural, whereas in the first and second plural, you see that connecting vowel added. In the case of the first plural, it's a omicron. In the case of the second plural, it is an eta. And so once again, we have stem, connecting vowel, ending. Ending right here. And lu, in the case of luo, is our stem. So that's the stem that means I loose. If we were to do this with respect to another basic verb, grapho, so when you see this form in the dictionary or vocabulary list, to find the stem, you take off that omega, which is the first person singular present active indicative ending, the primary suffix first person singular ending. You take that off to find that graph is the stem, and then you add on those different endings. In the case of ace, a, and usi, here these are added directly onto the stem without the connecting vowel. And then in the case of the first person plural and the second person plural, you get that connecting vowel omicron or eta in this case, so that you have grapho, graphes, graphe, graphamen, graphete, graphusi. So if you're trying to figure out who is doing the action of the writing, so grapho means I write, that O is giving us, the omega is giving us the I, the first person singular. The information about the person and the number is embedded in the verb because Greek is a highly inflected language. So when we go to graphes, the person and number is second person singular, exactly. And then for third person, for graphe, giving you the answer ahead of time, what is the person and the number? That's right, the person is third, the number is singular. Over here to graphamen, the person is, that's right, first, and the number is, yes, plural. And then for graphete, person is second, number is plural. And then graphusen, the person is third, and the number is plural. One thing I have not yet noted, this little new here that it is in parentheses. That is in parentheses because it may or may not be there. It depends on what the next word in the sentence begins with. If the next word in the sentence begins with a vowel, the new will be there. It makes it easier to pronounce when you have a consonant at the end of the word. When the next word begins with a vowel, we do this, for example, in English with a or an, a movable n at the end of a for a word that begins with with a vowel. An energy crisis versus a dog. We add that in when the next word begins with a vowel to ease the pronunciation. Greek does the same thing with this ending, adding this new when the next word begins with a vowel. The next thing we're going to do here is practice speaking aloud these primary suffixes, the primary suffixes of the present active indicative, in order to help with our memorization. These endings it would very much behoove you to memorize these suffix endings. So we're going to say them together 3 times, moving progressively faster. So the first time through, you will repeat after me. The second and third times through, I will ask you to say them along with me. And just a note that on the usi down here, we're just going to say it as usi rather than with the new in there. So usi, not usin, in how I am going to say this. So let's go ahead and jump on in. We have o, ace, a, min, te, usi. One more time, a little bit faster, saying it along with me. O, ace, a, min, te, usi. One more time, a little bit faster. O, ace, a, min, te, usi. And you may want to pause here and go through it, say it aloud a few more times, a bit faster. Good work on your practice. Let's go ahead and on 3 for the high five for your excellent work. So proud of you. 1, 2, 3, high five. All right, the next thing I want you to do is practice writing these endings out. So we just said them aloud, o, ace, a, min, te, usi. I want you to go ahead and pause here and on your whiteboard, write down those endings. Here they are, o, ace, a, min, te, usi. Why don't you go ahead and pause and one more time write these on your whiteboard. And there they are, o, ace, a, min, te, usi. What we have just introduced is called the omega conjugation of the present active indicative. That is to say, the first person singular uses the omega as its suffix. There are other conjugations. We're not going to focus on them too extensively yet, but I do want to introduce to you one verb in a different conjugation. This is the me conjugation that we'll return to much later on in our Greek journeys. But this particular verb, a me, is a very, very important one because it is the verb of existence, the to be verb. In any language, and learning any language, knowing the forms of the to be verb is very, very important because they are used very, very often. So we're going to introduce this one very early in our Greek journey. So this is the present indicative of the verb of existence, I am in the first person singular, or the to be verb. And you'll notice here that there is no voice here. There is no present active indicative of a me. That's because existence is never seen sort of as active, middle, or passive, that it's sort of just existence just is. So there is no voice when it comes to the forms of a me. So we just have the present indicative of a me. So if you are parsing a to be verb, if you're parsing a version of a me, it's going to be just present indicative, person, number. So indicative again is our mood. The action is viewed as real. And this is what the forms of a me looks like in the present indicative. So we have a me in the first person singular. That would be translated to English, I am. A in the second person singular, translated to English, you are. Esti or estin with the movable nu. So remember that nu will be there if the next word begins with a vowel. In the third person singular, this will be a he, she, an it, or a they. Esmen is first person plural. We are in English. Este, second person plural. Y'all are in English. And then the third person plural is asin, again with that movable nu. So ac or asin, the nu there, if the next word begins with a vowel. Just as we did with the primary suffixes, we're going to practice together speaking these forms of a me, the present indicative forms of a me together 3 different times. The first time I'll go slowly, you'll repeat after me. The second and third time I will go a little bit faster and we'll say them together. So let's go ahead and jump in. Repeat after me. A me, a, esti, esmen, esti, ac. One more time, together. A me, a, esti, esmen, esti, ac. One more time, a little bit faster. A me, a, esti, esmen, esti, acid. My apologies for not having the colors up there as we spoke along together. And let's go ahead and go in for the high five for your practice. 1, 2, 3, way to go. Boom. And writing practice once more. Go ahead and write those forms of the to be verb a me in the first, second, and third person singular on the left-hand side, and the first, second, and third person singular on the right-hand side. Go ahead and pause, and I will wait for you. All right, this is what they look like one more time. A me, a, esti, esmen, esti, acid. And the last thing we're going to do together is practice parsing verbs. When I say parsing verbs, I mean we are identifying the information about the tense, voice, the mood, the person, the number, and also what is called the lexical form, the form that you would find in the dictionary or in a vocabulary list. I want you to first try the more difficult task of identifying this information without any help up on the screen. And then in just a moment, I'm going to put up on the screen those endings of the forms, the suffixes, and then the forms of a me as sort of a help for you to do that. But see if you can do first the more difficult task of identifying it without any helps, and then we will correct if we need to correct. Okay, so here now we have the forms or the endings up on the screen. Go ahead and see if this helps you in any place that you are stuck or you can correct any information. Go ahead and pause the video and I'll come back in and give you the correct parsing information for each one of these. So this is what your information should look like here. Luo is the present active indicative, first person singular, just using that omega ending. And for a while, we are going to be just present active indicative, or at least in this video, will only be present active indicative, or just present indicative in the case of to be verbs. With luusi, with that movable nu, we've got a present active indicative third person plural. So we've got this usi suffix ending right here, indicating third person plural. With a me, we are down in the to be verb paradigm. So we've got the simple first person singular. So present indicative, remember no voice when it comes to a me verbs, first person singular. Again, with the to be verb ac or asin, with that movable nu on there, we're down in the third person plural. So we've got a present indicative third person plural from a me. So the other information you could put here is the verb at the end of all of that information. And then lastly, graphomen, we've got a present active indicative first person plural. We're using that men suffix with the omicron connecting vowel on it. All right. Once again, let's go ahead. All your great work in this entire video. We're going to go in for one last high five, which is what I'm going to leave you with. 1, 2, 3, high five. Boom.